Hello, this is a reply and a message to you, Greg. And this isn't just for you, Greg. This is for everybody that wants to make an income online, but this is in response to your question and some of the questions we've been having backwards and forwards in this thread about how long it takes to make an income online, to replace our income to get to $5,000 a month, and the percentage of people that are able to achieve that, and if it's actually realistic, like we've been talking about. So I'm gonna get probably on my soapbox here and probably get a bit frustrated with the industry, get a bit frustrated with what people are telling you, get a bit frustrated with a lot of different things, and I'm just gonna blurt it all out here. Thank you for firstly, Greg, sticking in there. I know that you really, really want to achieve this goal of replacing your income and getting to $5,000 a month and eventually to $10,000 a month. And you're on this journey and a few things have happened. So let me just read through your comment, a big long comment, and respond to it. You said you'd appreciate talking this through, and I just want to talk this through and just get it off my chest. What you've said is that you find yourself at a crossroad and feeling like you're not getting anywhere. Hey, I've been there and I feel like that a lot. Happens to me at least like one or two or maybe a few times a year, with different things in my life and different businesses. Now, you said you had a Zoom call with a particular company to discuss your options, which is a content creation company, for your site, which is in the music niche, to see if you can recover from a Google update and get the traffic back to what it was worth, right? And make it saleable. Now, the thing is, how much do you buy this website for? If it's under the $10,000 range, obviously it's been hit by a Google update, it's going to really need a lot of work without looking at it. And this is probably a general statement, but it's probably going to need a fair bit of work to get it to a point that where it was to be able to sell it. And I think maybe you could cut your losses with that. And recovering from a Google update, depending on how bad it is, can be very, very costly, and depending on how big the business is and what it could cost you, maybe that money is better invested into another asset or another venture. That's just depending on how big the Google update is on the site. So I would say you'd have to work out what it would take to recover from that Google update in terms of time and resources, and then what's the likelihood of you being able to recover from it after putting those time and resources in there, and then would that income or those resources you put into that recovering that site with the Google update, would you get a better ROI on putting in a new venture? Something to think about, right? We've got to think about opportunity cost here as well. Not many people talk about that, but it's something you should consider. Then you say, you're going to do some long tail keywords and 100% info posts, informational posts, but going forward, you're trying to explore your best option to replace your income, right? You want to get to that $5,000 a month to build it up to $10,000 a month. And one option that this content creation company said is suggesting to buy a starter site with an age domain. Now, this is all the rage. This is the fad at the moment, and it's worked, and people have gotten great results from doing it. And that if you do this content creation company will build you 100,000 words of content, and it can be delivered within 2 months, and then you leave the site for a couple of months to let Google index it and see the content and get a little bit of traffic. And if it looks promising, then start to crank out the content and build that up. But what happens if it doesn't look promising? And the person that you spoke to, it sounds like that they said that only 2% of people who own websites achieve the replacement of the income. 2%. And that's a huge concern to you. I agree, it's a scary number, and I do agree with it. It's probably not too many people, and I want to tell you why, and I want to tell you how we can overcome this. And it's not the industry's fault. It's nobody's fault except for some content that people are consuming and not reading between the lines. And not setting realistic expectations for themselves. And that's what I'm going to try and achieve to do for you and anybody who does listen to this in the future. So you said you'd love to hear my comments on this estimate. Now, first and foremost, before we go through your options, let me talk about this 2% thing. 2% of website owners actually achieve replacing their income or get to say $5,000 a month. 10 grand, getting from $5,000 a month to $10,000 a month is doubling it, and you often need to do different things to get from $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Personally, I'm very grateful that I'm in the above the $10,000 a month range, the $5,000-10,000 a month range. Now, with this said, how long has it been for me? Time of recording this journey, how long has it been for me? Did I achieve $5,000 within my first 2 years? Within my first 3 years? No. No, I didn't. And this is the thing that most people see and hear is we consume content from a lot of people, myself included, of case studies of people that have gone away and bought a business within 3 months or 6 months and achieved X amount of result. Now, the thing is, when people hear this or see these, they don't understand a lot of things. When we record a case study like this, usually it's a non-typical result. Usually it's a student that's just gotten great results, and we'd love to share it because it's an exciting thing, and we want to show the possibilities of it happening to people. But what people don't realize is that there's a few things that this person who has achieved that result has in their corner. They may have more money, they may have more time, they may have more resources, and they may have a different mindset. They may have collapsed their mindset through many more failures before they came to, hey, I want to start to make money online. And they may have set up and aligned a lot of things through experiences within their life to get to a point where they can achieve a result a lot faster. Personally, I work with a mentor who I am one of their favorite mentees because of how much other stuff I've done in my life, not just in business, but other stuff I've done in my life to grow, and my attitudes towards growth. I achieve results very, very fast with this mentor, and they love it because it exceeds a lot of other people that they're working with, and it's it's an enjoyable experience for myself and for them. But my results are non-typical. And that's what we need to understand is sometimes when we see people achieve $1,000 a month within 3 months, they may have bought a site for $40,000 to $50,000, and it took them 10 years to save that $40,000 to $50,000. And we're like, well, how am I here and I can only afford a $5,000 site and not get to the results that they want, right? Not all people are created equal, and not all of our experiences are equal. So we need to understand that when we see a case study, when we see people get a great result, is that we should not set the bar too high. We should not set an expectation that if this person achieved it in 6 months, surely I can do it in a year. And then when it gets to a year's time, you don't get the result, and you chalk it up as a failure. That's the worst thing ever. It's the worst thing ever. People, when we put a time frame on things, what happens is we put time against us. And what happens when time is against us? We make bad decisions because we stress out and we want to achieve this faster and faster and faster. And when we put time against us, we try to make these decisions quickly so we can achieve our result quickly. And when we do that, we don't properly think about the decisions we make. And when we're under pressure and stress, we don't make the best decisions. So people try to achieve results in a short time frame by setting the bar and having high expectations, and then when they don't achieve it, they think this vehicle is not going to work. Next, I'm going to go to the next vehicle, and we start looking at other things to do, similar to what you're looking at as well, Greg. And it's fair, you can go away and do it, and maybe there are other methods that may be better, but the reality is you can be successful in any of the vehicles and any of the methods. And I'm not saying mine is the be all and end all, the only method that you should do, because it's up to you. But what I'm saying is you need to find one, you need to stick with it, because there's this thing that happens when we take time from being against us, right? When we put time against us and it backs us into the wall, and we want to achieve a goal by X year or X age or whatever it is. I've been there and I've done it, and sometimes I consistently do it in different things, and I catch myself, hang on a second, why am I putting time against myself? That does not work. Sometimes it can, but you make decisions based out of fear, based out of stress. what is better to do is to put time on your side. Now, how do we do this? Putting time on our side means understanding that when we do something for a long period of time, this interesting thing called compounding happens. Our knowledge compounds, our results compound, and our achievements compound. And this happens over a long period of time. And you can flip the script on time being against you to time being with you. And when you don't lock a deadline and a date in, and when you go, all right, I'm just gonna set myself up, and I'm gonna do this for however long it takes to achieve a result. And when you make that decision to just say, I'm gonna do this for however long it takes to make a result, then you don't put that pressure and your stress on yourself. And you go, all right, cool, I want to achieve X goal. Obviously, it'd be great to achieve it within a 5-year time range or 10-year time range. But if you stick with it and you just go, I'm going to do this no matter what because it's the biggest goal I'm ever going to achieve, is to replace my income, then give yourself some time. To replace your income in 2 to 3 years is a huge feat. It's a massive feat, and people don't understand how big that feat is. Like, we see people achieve all this, somebody achieved, $1 million in their first year in business. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. That many people that do that is slim to none. And you hear about it because it's like a ridiculous story. And it's not, I would never set a goal for myself to achieve, I can't do it now because it's not my first business, but in my first ever business, to achieve $1 million in the first year. That's the amount of, how fast you would have to go and how much money you'd have to blow along the way on strategies and things that didn't work is high. So that person that may have made $1 million in a year, they probably had to work really, really hard, work more hours than most people are comfortable doing, or spend more money than most people have, and make more mistakes than most people are willing to make. So we need to really be realistic with what other people have achieved and how they've done it, because sometimes they're not telling us the whole story. That's the first thing I want to say, is just like, hey, not everybody's created equal. Not everybody comes to the starting blocks with the same amount of money, the same amount of time, and the same mindset, and the same past experiences in life. So we need to understand that. We can't put ourselves in the same shoes as others. Otherwise, it's just going to cause us a bunch of grief. So what are your options? I think choose one vehicle and stick with it. Understand that, look, if you want to replace your income, which is a massive goal, massive goal, don't try and do it in a 2 or 3 year time frame. Just say, I'll do it for however long it takes, right? Whatever it takes, just do it. And that was my attitude when I got into business. It's like, I don't care how long it takes me to replace my income, but I'm just going to do it because I need to. It's essential for me. And I think that's the best attitude to have. And I'm investing in property, looking at buying more properties now. And my goal is I would love to achieve something within a 10-year time frame, right? Great to have $10 million, $20 million worth of property in a 10-year time frame. But I know that there's going to be some hiccups along the way. And in 30 years time, if I've got more than 10 properties, 20 properties, which is I'd be sad if I had less. I'd be upset with the efforts that I put in if I had less. But still, if I got 20 properties, I'm still going to be in a good position in 30 years time. So it's not the end of the world. So I'm just going to do whatever it takes for however long it takes to try and achieve those results that I actually want to achieve, without me having to go away and put myself into a corner and borrow money under terms that aren't very nice for me or easy for me to withstand, or put myself in a very risky position. So something to consider there. Next, to answer your question is, you said option number 2 is you buy a website to bypass the 5+ months of that, buying an age domain, getting some content on it, and seeing if it's going to work. And even a low-cost website that's indexed and in the right niche could hopefully ramp up fairly quickly if I put a small team of writers on the site, adding 50 pages per month. But then I say to myself, I haven't proven to myself that I can get my small music website profitable. What makes me think I can make a success of another website? Here's one thing that you need to understand as well, is not all websites are created equal. So if you're going to buy a site for $10,000, it's going to have a lot more risk. It's not going to be as established as buying something for $50,000, right? And this is a very general statement, but something that's $10,000 versus $50,000, something that's $50,000 is usually going to be 5 times more established, 5 times less risk, 5 times easier to run, 5 times less work. Something to think about and something to consider. I'm just throwing out some fertilizer there. And that's a very, very general statement. It's not exactly true, but the principles are important to understand and to think about. So just because I couldn't make, here's an example here. I started a travel blog. I made probably under 300, 400, 500 bucks on that travel blog. 2 years. 2 years working that travel blog. Made under 500 bucks. I gave up on it. And then I started an e-commerce business. Probably made a couple of grand on that e-commerce business in a year's time. Didn't really spend much money on paid ads. I didn't know what paid ads were. I didn't know what digital marketing was. And then I went, stuff this. I'm going to go buy a business. And I bought my first business for $15,000 and I made money and I grew it and I made it work. And then I bought another one and then I bought another one. So my first 2 attempts sucked. And my mindset wasn't that, if I can't make it work in a small startup, then how can I ever make it work in buying a business? That wasn't my mindset. My mindset was, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to spend whatever it takes. And however long it takes, I'm going to get this result. So that's something I would give to you as more fertilizer to understand that just because you can't make a small website work that has been hit by a Google update does not mean that if you buy a larger site that you're not going to be able to make that work as well, right? Or any other venture. I'm not saying that you need to go away and buy a bigger site. That's not what I'm saying here at all. I'm just saying it's just because you haven't achieved a result in one thing doesn't mean you're not going to achieve a result in another thing. Sometimes people will buy a $30,000 website for their first website and buy a $30,000 website for their second website. Sometimes, as an example, the first website could do really, really well. They go, I'm really good at this. I'm the best. I'm the man. I'll buy another $30,000 website and I'll get the same results. No, that's not the case. Just because they're very, very similar doesn't mean they're going to be exactly equal. We've got so many variables around us. Basically, what you've said is you need another confidence boost, right? And option number 3 is buy an age domain in the same niche, to give your other site a boost and hire a couple of writers, crank out content. Now, those are 3 options that you're wrestling with, and your goal is to get a website that you can grow to 1,000 page views and make $5,000 a month. You want to prove to yourself that this content business is legit to make bigger and further investments. Think about it this way. You want to try and make a startup work before you buy a business. 90% of startups fail. And I'm talking these small business. Even if you buy something very, very small under the $10,000 range, I still consider that a startup. You need to put a lot more time, effort, energy, and resources into it. All this stuff that you've heard me say before. So just because you can't make that work doesn't mean you can make a bigger business work. And I'm proof of that because I've tried to start 2 businesses and I sucked at it and failed. I went and started buying businesses and did really well. So it's not the same thing. Just because you can't start a business doesn't mean you can't buy a business and do well from it. So that's something I wanted to share with you. And that's just one. That's being biased towards my method of buying businesses, of course. So I'm saying just because you can't start your own site yourself, or you can't make a starter site that you have bought work yourself, doesn't mean that getting somebody else to create one yourself for yourself, like a content creation service with an age domain, isn't going to work for you as well. But the way I see it is that if you're going to wait 5 months and spend 10 grand on something to not be certain if it's going to have a good result or good amount of traffic, is why not spend that 10 grand finding something and putting into a bigger investment that you've already got proof, you've already got all the data if it's going to work or not. So that's my suggestion. Is I know it's scary, it's really, really scary, but sometimes we need to, if you really want to achieve this, sometimes we need to take some risks. I'm not saying that you need to buy a business. The risk could be in getting the age domain and the content thing built as well, or it could be buying another business. But I just want you to understand 2 important things here. Time, give yourself a lot of time. Put time on your side. Let everything you're learning and everything you're doing compound over time. It's going to give you a lot more experience, and it's going to make you a far better business person. You're on the right track here with this. And the second thing is, choose the vehicle and stick with it. Just go all in on the vehicle and just make it happen and make it work. Because this is, when we're swapping and changing things, looking at the shiny object syndrome, where we can be starting again and can be seen as starting again. So I don't know how to wrap this up. I'm just getting on my soapbox and just having a bit of a rant and just being a bit frustrated with the industry, of people seeing the content that's put out there in terms of case studies, that people have setting the high expectations for themselves that if this person can do it, I can do it in this amount of time frame, but not really understanding where that person who achieved that result came from in previous experience with time, money, and resources. So something to consider there. I would suggest stick with what your gut feel is. This site that has been attacked by Google or has not been set up within Google's terms and policies, and bring it around. I'm not sure how much you paid for it, forget, but I said earlier, you could be reinvesting your money into something that could be rather than trying to bring something back from the dead. Not sure where it is, not sure the condition, but I would say just have a good hard think about what I've mentioned through this whole thing, because I've mentioned so many things. And yeah, just because you can't make a starter site work doesn't mean that you can't make you can't grow an established business. It's not the same thing, and I've proven that, and a lot of other people have as well. Most people that you've seen in the community get great results from buying businesses too. So I hope that helps. Hit me back with some follow-up questions. Digest this, listen to it again if it's gonna help, and yeah, look forward to hearing back from you.
Hey YouTube watcher, if you thought that video was good, you should check out this video here on the 2 best types of websites beginners should buy. Or check out my playlist on how I made my first 100K from buying websites and how to do due diligence. Check it out. It's an awesome playlist. You'll enjoy it.